Hello, fellow English students. Welcome to English Language with Teacher Nick. I'm Teacher Nick. I'm so happy you could join me. When you just started learning English, you quickly learned many words and you learned grammar patterns. You could use them on things that you see every day. This is a chair. That is a door. You could see how well you were doing every day, and it was good. You were remembering all of the things you needed to learn to make it into that next English lesson. But then things changed. Then, after you got that first beginner level of English, you started to remember more words, and there were more grammar patterns, and maybe you don't have enough practice with another person just speaking English, and there are more words. There are more grammar patterns. Maybe you are busy and you have to go to work all day and you can't practice conversation, and then there are more words. When you get to the next lesson, there are more words and there are more grammar patterns. We slow down between beginner level and intermediate level, and when we start to understand how much longer it is before we get to the middle, that makes us discouraged. We might slow down even more, start wandering, and unfortunately, a lot of people who start learning English won't end up where they feel comfortable that they understand the English around them. That's the problem with learning any language. Learning English or any language would be so fun if I didn't have to learn all those words. It will take time for your brain to learn English. Trying to remember all of English won't work. In that time, you have to learn to think in English. Your brain will do that over time and with practice. It's always scary when you see how much English there is left to learn. There's always so much more that you will want to know. Always more words and more words. There's just so many. It takes someone like me to help you see that all of these words over here, the purple words, well, those all mean big. We can talk about the different ways that they mean big, and I will be happy to do that. But right now, just remember that they all mean big. And when you look at these words down here, the gold words all start with the letters P, E, and N. So they are all very close to each other in the alphabet, and that's a way for you to think of these words. And the green words all have the letters S, C, R, I, B, or P in them. And that means they're all from the same root word, scribe. If I tell you a new way to remember different words together, then your brain can make more connections between words. Your brain will not have to work as hard remembering everything. It will just take time. It will take your brain as long as it takes to learn to think in English. By learning different ways to pack English together and remember it as in different groups, we can then store it away, learn something new, pack that in, store it away, learn something new. By learning new ways to group words together, we better learn the stories behind the words. Once you learn a word as a character, as a story, you will become more comfortable using that word. When I talk about word roots, I am using the same word as we use to describe the bottom of a tree. A root of a tree holds into the ground. It holds the tree together, and it is where the tree starts. For those of you who have not seen my earlier video on prefixes and some word roots, you can find it here. Scribe comes from an old word that means to cut. So the first meanings of scribe are about cutting a line, and there's still a woodworking tool that people use to this day that will scratch a line into a piece of wood at a certain distance all the way down. So call that a scribe. Think of it like 2 points that put together together, you can scribe a line. You will cut a line into a piece of wood. The people who were good enough with their hands to scribe lines very well would cut into clay and into wax to write in them. So scribe later becomes to write. Sometimes scribe can mean cut, but sometimes scribe can mean write. In that way, it gets most of its meaning as a word root. To inscribe a ring or a sword hilt or something else, you scratch letters or designs or pictures into metal. That is to inscribe something. Inscribe also means to write in a book for someone else. You buy a book and you inscribe it to someone else. And that would be the inscription. Shun here makes a verb into a noun. Inscribe, a verb becomes inscription, a noun. Prescribe, the doctor will prescribe medicine. Pre is before, scribe. Before we need it, we will get a piece of paper that says that I need it. So that's a prescription. The doctor is telling me what medicine I need to take and how often I need to take it. That is a prescription. A subscription is when you write under and say, I want to see this thing. So you subscribe to my channel. You can subscribe to receive a magazine every month. You can also subscribe to a belief, which means I am okay with people knowing that I believe this thing. I subscribe to that. I am happy to let people know that I believe it. While I'm talking about subscribe, make sure to like and subscribe. Describe is to tell someone what something is about or looks like. To describe it, the things that you write down, someone can see it later. That is to describe something. Describe is a verb. Description is a noun. Manuscript. Manu, in this case, is hand, and script is write. So a manuscript used to be a handwritten book. Usually we don't write in hand anymore, but we still talk about the whole book being called a manuscript. A script is something that someone writes to tell actors what to play on a stage or what the director and the producers and the actors will shoot for a film. To transcribe is to listen to someone and write down what they say. The word scripture refers to the Bible or some other holy writings called scriptures. Conscription, con is with, and then conscription. Conscribe means when the country forces its citizens to join the military. They will write their name on a list. You're with us. So we will conscribe that person. That means you have to do it, so you are conscribed. Proscribe is to tell someone that they can't do something. Proscribe is funny because it tells someone what not to do, and tells someone what to do in the future. So it's very funny that these words are only one letter apart. Prescribe, proscribe. Prescribe means tell someone what to do. Proscribe means tell someone what not to do. After we have all of the people who are good at being scribes and they are writing for a little bit of time, then we have them pressing those words into paper. That is the press. P-R-E-S-S. This is press. This is also press. Press the button. Depress would be this. This is to depress. It's to hold something pressed. I can depress something, which means push it in and it is held pressed. In another context, the same word, depress, can also mean it makes me sad. That depresses me. More serious than that, it's a medical term for when we are sad for a long period of time and our body doesn't know how to be happy anymore. There are many doctors who put it differently. I am not a doctor, but the word has a medical meaning. If you have a medical question, you should talk to a doctor about it. Depression is a word that can be used for that medical term about the mind, but it's also a word that can be used physically. Depression, it is pushed in. A depression can also be where you see something pushed in somewhere. There's a depression in the land. It's a very versatile word. It is a word we can use for many different things. Pressure, if we add the suffix ure onto press, we get pressure. Pressure is continual pressing. Pressure is a noun, but then we can also use that as a verb. If we want to pressure someone to do something, we will remind them that they owe us something, or we will get people to remind them for us. That also leads to the word press as a verb. Press as a verb can mean this, as I said, but it also means to ask a question of someone, and when they don't answer, you will ask harder. Did you take the money? I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you did. Did you take the money? I press the question. Press is used like that. This comes to an interesting crossover where the word is talking about more than one thing that all comes up at the same time, because the people who are most likely to need to get a question answered are people who report the news. Well, newspapers are one of the earliest and most important uses of the printing press. The printing press is a device that is used to press letters and words into paper. Making a newspaper with a press, we call the newspaper the press. We can talk about the newspapers and the people together as the press. Members of the press will press people when they need to use pressure to get what they need. They will press the question. They will press on people. This word can be used 6 different ways, all in the same breath. The next word, we add the prefix ex. Ex is out of express. To express is to tell someone what's on your mind, or you can draw a picture or dance a dance that will express a feeling, express a thought. Another use for the word express is if you have a dog, sometimes you need to squeeze their hind parts because they can't express their anal gland, their gland in the back that needs to be squeezed out for them sometimes when they're older. Express means that too. To squeeze something out of something is to express it. If we add the prefix re, we will get repress. Repress can mean press something again, to repress a button, but repress also has a much wider meaning. Repress means if a government doesn't want something to be known, they will repress the truth. That means they will do many things over a wide different set of circumstances to get people not to talk about this. So they repress something. When you add ION, that is repression. A person might be repressed, but a bit of information is also repressed, or a story is also repressed. Suppress also means to stop something from happening, to suppress it. I might use it in a smaller scale too. I need to suppress the cockroaches in this apartment, so I will clean up around here. I will suppress that. I will keep that down over time, is to suppress. I'm jumping between suppress and repress because they're very similar, but then they have psychological meanings too. Repress would be something that someone doesn't want to think about it. They will repress this emotion or this memory, and then we might call that person repressed. So if you hear someone refer to someone else as repressed, that means that they have desires or they want to do things, but they don't let themselves want to do it. That is repressed. And we also feel in our culture that sometimes people can do too much and let themselves go too much, but then sometimes people can be too tightly controlled. They can control themselves too much, and that is when they are repressed. Impress is to make a dent in something and you can see the mark. That is to impress. If you think of chewing gum, or maybe clay is a nicer way to think of it. You press your hand into concrete or into clay, and you can see that. With concrete, you can see it years later. Impress, the impression of your hand into the concrete. I press my hand into the concrete. It is an impression. Now, what if you can press something into someone's mind? You will impress on that person. Impress on a person means you will make them think about something in a new way. To impress someone means they see you differently. Impression and expression are also ways of talking about different schools of art. There is expressionist and impressionist. I-S-T, is a person who does this, or a person who follows this form is an impressionist, an expressionist. Expression is the person wants to say something. Impression is this is what this thing means to them. Expression and impression. This is what this means to me. This is my impression of it is. So impressionist art might be Monet, where the paintings are a little blurry because he didn't have his glasses. So it's what he sees. He's painting what he sees. That's the impressionist idea. But then it gets into other things. But that's the basic idea behind impression in that case. To compress is to press over time. You might compress coffee to sell it. You will crush it into the smallest package you can find. That's compress. Compression. There might be a compression bandage that you wrap on someone who has broken an arm. You want to hold the pressure. You compress it. There are many more words that come from both the root scribe and the root press. There are many more words for those roots, and there are many more roots to learn. But as you learn the pattern, you will be able to learn better on your own. When you memorize all those words, you will start to see what is important and what is not important. There's so much that you could see. With help from teachers like myself, you will be able to see the important patterns that can help you group words together to give your mind something to hold on to as you learn to think in English. I am so happy you took this time to learn some of my favorite words and some of my favorite connections between words. If you are interested in more content like this, I love to describe the words that I love. I love to describe the idiom of English. I really enjoy the words that I talk about. If you enjoy learning from me, subscribe below, hit a like. Thank you for sharing my videos. It's been so wonderful to see all of your encouragement in the comments below. Let me know what you want to hear about next. When you watch my videos, tell me what country you're from. I would love to hear about it. And with that, thank you so much for joining me here on English Language with Teacher Nick. I'm Teacher Nick. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.